How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the easiest way to get shiny Pokemon in the early game in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So first off, let's go to take a look at Mass Outbreaks. Some of you may be familiar with this from Pokemon Legends Arceus, but if you're not, don't worry, I'll go over them real quick. So basically, these are areas that will spawn an increased number of a specific type of Pokemon, and will last anywhere from 100 to 120 spawns. It's also worth mentioning that you guys can actually change the spawns of these specific outbreaks if you actually use the date trick, although I'm not going to focus too much on that in this video. So in order to find these outbreaks, if you zoom out on your map, you can see these Pokemon that are standing out with a glowing red icon. Now if you haven't seen the Pokemon before though, it will be a question mark until you get to that area and you encounter one. Now progressively as you're going through the outbreak, whether you're catching or knocking out the Pokemon, you will get notified about every 20 to 30 spawns that the outbreak is reducing. Now here's the interesting part though, when you catch or knock out 30 of these Pokemon, you're going to add an extra roll on the shiny table, and then when you catch or knock out 60 of these Pokemon, you're going to add an additional roll as well. So let me break this down a little bit further in terms of the shiny odds. So normally full odds for a shiny Pokemon is 1 out of 4,096. Yeah, that's kind of a lot, right? So after you catch or knock out 30 of these Pokemon in the mass outbreak, that goes down to 1 out of 2,048. After you get to 60 knockouts or catches, that goes down to 1 out of 1,365. So significantly better, right? Now if you did have the shiny charm, you would basically get 2 additional rolls on top of this, but I'm assuming most of you guys watching this right now probably don't have the shiny charm yet, as that does require you to complete the Pokedex, and this game's only been out for a few days. Additionally, you could also use Sparkling Power to increase your shiny odds as well. This is basically an increased shiny boost from eating a specific sandwich in game. Again, another new mechanic that was actually added into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but is also endgame content, so we'll cover that in a separate video. So now that you understand the shiny odds, let's talk about preparation and what you guys actually need to do before you even start shiny hunting. So first off, make sure that your autosave is disabled. You can access this in your settings, and this way when you actually get to your shiny Pokemon, like when you finally encounter it in the overworld, if you somehow mess up, as long as you save the game beforehand, you can just restart and then go back to that exact save point and the shiny will still be there. But if you have autosave on and let's say you go through a series of actions, the game's just gotta automatically save, and if you accidentally knock out the Pokemon or if something happens for whatever reason, right, you won't be able to get that shiny again. So make sure that before you start shiny hunting, your autosave is turned off. Now another key advantage I want to go over, but not completely required, is getting access to False Swipe on one of your Pokemon. So pretty much the way that this move works is that it's going to knock down the Pokemon's HP to 1, but it won't actually knock it out, which is going to make it significantly easier to actually catch it. Obviously, you don't want to knock out your shiny Pokemon, that defeats the whole purpose. Now, in order to actually get access to this move though, you will have to register 30 Pokemon into your Pokedex, which is relatively easy, and then go to Jock in the Pokemon Academy. He's going to be in the biology lab, and then just talk to him and he'll give it to you. And then from there, just go to any TM machine and you can create one if you do have the right materials, which is relatively easy to get as well. Now, 2 more things I want to go over. If you aren't stocked on your highest grade Pokeball, and depending on where you're at in the game, that could just be the regular Pokeball, or maybe it's the Great Ball, the Ultra Ball, whatever it is, guys. Make sure that you have enough of these, because even though you can save before encountering the shiny, it's just going to make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you're going up against some high-level Pokemon. Now finally, the last thing that you're going to need is potions. Now you might be thinking, well, why do I need to grab potions if I'm going to be catching shiny Pokemon? Well, the best way to get to the shiny odds is going to be through knockouts, and if you're going up against decently leveled Pokemon and your Pokemon aren't super high level, they're going to take some damage each time, and you want to have potions ready so you can auto heal it immediately. So now with all that out of the way, let's go and focus on the actual shiny hunting method. So once you've found your mass outbreak of choice, we need to start knocking out these Pokemon to get that increased shiny odds. So I'd recommend using a high level Pokemon and take advantage of the auto battle feature. This kind of goes back to why you need to have potions. So you can utilize this by pressing the R button and then also pressing the ZR button to bring your Pokemon back. Basically though, just look at a Pokemon, press the R button, it'll just go and battle it really quickly. Takes like a few seconds. This is honestly the best and fastest way to go through this in my opinion, as long as you just have potions ready to heal up your Pokemon when it needs it. So keep in mind that if your Pokemon does actually get to a really low HP, it won't battle for you anymore and you have to heal it. Like, just really wanted to make that clear. Thankfully though, in this game, Pokemon did actually provide an awesome quick heal feature by going to the menu and pressing the negative symbol over that respective Pokemon. So you don't have to go into your bag and click on all those potions. That's why if you just buy regular potions, it's totally fine. It'll auto heal immediately, which makes it really convenient. Now additionally, if you do have a mass outbreak that you're going for in the water, you need to have the open Sky Titan battle completed. This gives you access to actually go in the water, but beforehand you won't be able to do that. You're just going to drown. It's going to put you back on shore. So make sure that you have this done. Also, if you don't have a water-type Pokemon to use for these auto battles, you will have to go through the battle encounters like normal, because the auto battle doesn't work on anything other than water-type Pokemon in the water for kind of obvious reasons, but it's not always that obvious. So at this point, you guys basically got the gist of it. Let's start knocking out these Pokemon. And while doing this, I would also recommend using something to keep track of how many Pokemon you have knocked out, as the game does not tell you via Pokedex. At least I couldn't find anything that showcased this. So there are obviously a few ways you guys can keep track of the encounters, but one of the easiest ways that I found is to pay attention to the material that it drops. So in my case, Vaporeon would drop 3 to 4 Eevee Fur every single time I knocked one out. So the easiest way for me to check was that once I got up past 240, which if I did 4 times 60, that's what 240 would be, I would pretty much be in the clear. Now to be honest, I was probably in the clear a little bit earlier because it was pretty random in terms of whether I would get 3 Eevee Fur or 4 Eevee Fur. Anyways, once you get past this point of 60 knockouts, it's very critical that you stop knocking out the Pokemon at this point, as you will end up completing the Outbreak, and that's not what we want to happen. So from here, find a place on the ground to save your game, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to use the picnic reset method to reset the spawns. So every time you do this, essentially what happens is that the spawns will disappear and they're going to reappear as new ones. So basically this means you are rolling your odds multiple times every time you do this and those spawns reappear. So instead of going through like one encounter at a time, you're going through like 10 to 20 encounters at a time, all with the shiny chance of 1 out of 1365. As long as you have those 60 catches or knockouts done. So this makes it significantly faster to find shinies, and it's arguably the best way to do it in the early game, or even just before you get to the post game, I would say. It's also worth mentioning for those of you who aren't that used to RNG, like this is completely random. You could end up getting the shiny really fast, or if you have bad RNG, like you could take a really long time to get the shiny still, but this is the best way to actually hunt them. And keep in mind as well that the Outbreak area also matters a lot too, because the more spawns you have around you that you can see in like a visible radius, the better chances you're going to have of actually encountering that shiny. If you only have a few spawns in your Outbreak, like for example I was actually hunting Magikarp a little bit earlier, I only had like 5 or 6 spawns, so it would have taken me a really long time to get the shiny. But Vaporeon had like 10 to 15 at least every single time I reset the picnic, which was really good. So anyways, moving forward, once you manage to get that shiny on the overworld map, it is critical that you save the game immediately. So when you access the menu in this game, the Pokemon will still move around unlike previous games, and if they move off screen, they could potentially despawn. If you save the game immediately as you see that shiny Pokemon, you can always restart your game and the shiny is going to be in that exact same spot when you load up the game. This is really good for like a number of reasons. For example, if you knock out the Pokemon, then you can just restart and try again. Keep in mind though that you do have to save in front of the shiny or just near the shiny on screen, because if you go to a save point before the shiny even appeared on screen, that's not going to work. It's going to treat it like you're running the odds all over again. So once you've basically got this set up, you can run through this shiny encounter as many times as you need to, and of course after you catch your shiny, make sure you save the game as well, because you don't want to go back in case it took you a really long time. So for example, my shiny Vaporeon was a pretty high level, it was level 49, and I didn't have that many Ultra Balls because I'm not that far in the game yet, but thankfully we were able to get it pretty quickly. But assuming I didn't, I could always just go back, restart the game, and then try again. Anyways though, that's pretty much all I got for you guys in this video. Hopefully this does help you get some shinies in your early game adventures, and if you're still looking for some more tips and tricks, check out these videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.